The alien hall was quiet, too quiet, like the whole galaxy was holding its breath. Tall stone pillars reached to the dark ceiling. Glowing blue lights moved across the walls like slow fire. And hundreds of alien leaders sat on golden seats, watching. In the middle of it all stood one man, a human. He wore no armor, no helmet. Just a black jacket and boots covered in dust from the long space journey. The alien general, Kerzal, walked slowly toward him, his forearms moving with power, his eyes full of pride. "You're the human Earth sent?" Kerzal laughed, his voice loud and sharp. "You have no guards, no weapons, no ships behind you." The human didn't answer. He only looked up at the giant beast behind Kerzal. It was inside a cage of thick silver bars, taller than a tank with claws like swords and glowing yellow eyes. The creature growled, chains around its neck shaking as it pulled against them. The crowd of aliens roared with laughter and cheers. Some shouted words the translator couldn't even understand, but the human didn't move. Kerzal stepped closer, his face now inches from the humans, his breath hot and smelling of iron. "Why aren't you trembling, human?" He whispered, "One word from me, and my pet will devour you." Still, the human didn't speak. He just stared at the monster in the cage, like he was remembering something. Kerzal raised his hand, ready to give the order. Then the human finally spoke. "Before you speak that word, look into its eyes," the human said softly. "Do you really think it obeys you?" Kerzal paused, confused. He turned to the cage. The creature was no longer growling. Its head tilted slightly, its eyes locked on the human. Unblinking, its breathing slowed, and then it bowed its massive head low to the ground. Gasps filled the room. Kerzal's smile faded, his voice cracked. What are you doing? Attack! Kill him!" But the creature didn't move, it didn't listen, it stayed still, its eyes watching only the human. Now the alien leaders began to whisper. Some stood, some backed away. Kerzal shouted again, "Obey me! Devour him, now!" The human stepped forward, calm and sure. "I know what you found," he said, "and I know you thought you tamed it." He looked up at the creature, then back at the alien general. "But this creature wasn't born in your labs," he said. "It was made by humans long ago." Kerzal shook his head in disbelief. "Lies! We discovered it on a dead moon. It answered to us." "You only thought it did," the human said, his voice now firm. "But you never spoke the right words." The alien generals all stared at the human. He raised his hand and whispered one word in a language no alien recognized. The creature suddenly roared, but not in anger. It was a sound of memory, of awakening. Then it bowed again, even lower. The chains broke on their own, like the creature no longer needed them. But still, it didn't attack, it waited. The human turned slowly to the alien crowd, his face serious. "Earth never lost its creations," he said. "We only hid them until the right time came." Silence. Kerzal stumbled backward, fear on his face for the first time. "You're bluffing," he said. "You're just a weak planet with soft people and fragile bones." The human walked up to him, face to face now. "If that's what you believe," he said coldly, "then give the order again." The alien general's mouth opened, but no words came. He looked back at the monster, now standing free, glowing eyes still locked on him. One wrong word, and it would strike, but only if the human allowed it. For the first time in centuries, the aliens of the galactic table realized something shocking. The humans had not come in fear, they had come with the past, and that past had teeth. The human whispered again, this time not to the creature, but to the air. "Let them wonder," he said. "Let them guess how many more like you are waiting." And somewhere far above the hall, in the dark corners of space, something answered with a low rumble, something ancient, something made by Earth. The aliens didn't laugh anymore. They watched the human leave the hall, calm, quiet, while the monster followed behind like a shadow, and not a single soul dared to stop him, not anymore. Asterisk. The creature stood behind the human like a silent shadow. its body strong, its claws sharp, its yellow eyes glowing like stars trapped in a storm. The alien leaders still watched from their golden seats, frozen in fear, whispering to each other in secret languages. Confused, scared, no one had ever seen anything like this. Kerzul had promised them a show, a weak human destroyed by the galaxy's deadliest beast. But now the beast followed the human like a loyal pet, not out of fear, but out of memory, outside the grand hall. 2 alien guards followed the human. Slowly, weapons shaking in their hands, the hallway was dark and cold, lined with statues of ancient alien warriors. The human didn't look back. He walked straight, calm, like he had done this before. The creature followed close, its steps light, but heavy enough to shake the floor. The guards whispered, "What kind of human controls that thing?" "He didn't control it," the other one said. "He awakened it." The human stopped at a door. It opened with a soft hiss. Inside was a quiet room filled with stars. The Council's memory chamber, a place where the oldest galactic records were kept. He stepped inside and waved his hand. The room lit up and a glowing sphere rose from the center. "Archive Earth contacts," he said. The sphere blinked, and old footage began to play. Alien ships in orbit around Earth. Talks, war threats, peace treaties. Then an old video, grainy and flickering. A human scientist standing next to something that looked too familiar. A young version of the monster in the cage. Its eyes were the same, the voice in the video said. "Project Silence, designed to obey only the voice of Earth's chosen." The aliens in the room behind the glass gasped. They had heard of this project in whispers. A myth from the dark age of Earth, before the Great Silence, when humanity vanished. From Galactic Talks, Kerzul stormed into the room, his steps loud, his anger burning. "This is trickery," he shouted. "You faked the footage, you rewired the beast." The human didn't turn around. He simply said, "If that's what helps you sleep at night." The creature turned its head and growled low, but not at Kerzul, at the door behind him. More guards were coming. The human looked at the floating sphere again. "Show hidden weapon logs, Earth transmission." The sphere flashed red. "Warning, restricted access." The human smiled and spoke one word in the same strange language he used earlier. The red light turned green, and new files opened. One showed a map of the galaxy. Blinking lights scattered across hundreds of planets, each one marked with an ancient Earth symbol, each one with a name. Project Stormbreaker, Project Howl, Project Emberchild. The guards watching from the hallway started backing away. These weren't just weapons. They were living weapons, hidden, sleeping, waiting. Kerzul growled, "You expect us to believe these still exist?" The human walked to the map and touched one blinking dot. "Check coordinates," he said. Outside the council tower, alarms suddenly blared. One of the dots had come alive. A creature buried on a desert world had started moving. The ground there split open as claws rose from the sand. The galaxy had forgotten Earth's monsters, but Earth had not forgotten the galaxy. The human finally turned to face Kerzul. "We gave peace," he said. "You gave us silence. We gave trade." He said, "You gave us chains." "We gave warnings," he said. "You gave us war." Kerzul hissed, "We rule because we are strong." The human stepped close, his voice calm. "Then prove it." Kerzul raised his hand. But this time he didn't speak. He couldn't. His voice trembled. The creature took a step forward, but the human raised his hand gently. "Not yet," he whispered. The monster stopped. It listened only to him. Far away, another alien council was panicking. They had received the same Earth signal. Another sleep-in weapon had awakened in their skies. The stars were not quiet anymore. The human looked into the council's memory chamber. Once more, he pointed to an old quote, burned into the wall by a long-forgotten Earth leader. "Tremble not before our weapons, but before the day we remember where we buried them." The alien generals had laughed at Earth's weakness, but now they were learning the truth. Earth had never been weak. Earth had just been waiting for the right voice. And the voice had come back, in human form. and behind him walked Silence with teeth. Kerzel stood still, face pale, eyes wide, heart beating faster than ever before. His pet, the beast he had shown off with pride, now waited for a command from a human, but not from him. From the one who had just whispered a forgotten word in a forgotten tongue. The chamber grew colder, even the glowing walls seemed to dim. The alien leaders who had once laughed were silent now, hiding behind their seats, whispering to each other, scared of the creature that stood like a statue with glowing eyes and dripping. Fangs, the human, still calm, looked at Kerzel and said softly, "You never understood the code," Kerzel growled. "What code?" The human turned to the beast and spoke again, just one word, soft and low. The beast blinked once, then sat down slowly, claws folding under its body, like a soldier waiting for orders. "The language was lost to you," the human said, "but not to us." Kerzel shook his head. "Impossible. That tongue has not been heard in 1,000 years. The human walked to the edge of the chamber and pressed his hand on the wall. It opened to reveal a small metal cube floating in the air, humming softly. "This is the original command key," he said, "built by Earth's old guardians. Long before your kind learned to shape fire." The cube began to glow, projecting strange shapes into the air symbols that none of the aliens could understand. But the creature did. It rose to its feet again and looked up at the symbols, making a deep, sad noise from its throat. Like it remembered something lost long ago, the human placed the cube on the ground, and the creature gently touched it with one claw. A deep tone filled the room, a voice not human, not alien, but mechanical and old. Protocol recognized. The voice said, "Command source. Earth Prime signature validated." The alien guards raised their weapons, but the creature didn't move. It wasn't a monster now. It was a soldier following orders from home. Kerzel screamed, "You're awakening ancient weapons. You'll destroy the balance of the galaxy." The human looked at him, his voice now harder, colder. "The balance was broken the day you fed humans to beasts for your games." The alien leaders looked at each other. They all remembered the videos. Captured humans thrown into arenas to face alien pets. Soldiers crushed for sport. And Earth never responded, until now. The human walked toward the center of the room and raised both hands. "I did not come for war," he said. "I came to remind you." He looked at the creature, who lowered its head like it was listening to an old friend. "You called us weak," the human said, "because we stayed silent. You called us broken," he said, "because we did not strike back. You called us gone," he said, "because we disappeared from your star charts. But we never left," he whispered. "We were just watching." The alien leaders began to realize the truth. All those missing Earth ships, all the lost colonies that vanished without a trace, they weren't dead. They were hiding, training, and waiting for the moment the galaxy forgot to be afraid. Now that moment had come. Kerzel tried one last time to take back control. He shouted the creature's old command phrase, the one they used to make it kill, but the beast didn't move. It looked at him like it didn't even recognize him. "You see?" The human said, "It's not yours." Kerzel charged forward in fury, claws raised high. The beast let out a warning growl, but did not move. The human raised one hand and said a word in that lost tongue. Kerzel stopped mid-charge, frozen, not by force, but by fear. The human walked past him, not even looking. He stood beside the beast and gently placed his hand on its side. The beast made a low hum, soft, like a cat purring. This was not just a pet, not just a weapon. This was family built from Earth's darkest hour, trained by war, and finally called home. The alien leaders backed away. One whispered, "If one creature listens to him, how many more are there?" Another said, "Did Earth leave monsters on our worlds too?" The human looked up, as if hearing them. He smiled. "You're asking the right questions." He turned to leave the chamber, the creature walking beside him, calm and silent. But before he walked out, he turned back and said, "There's only one word that matters now." He spoke that word, and far away, across space, On planets forgotten and moons untouched, other beasts opened their eyes. Asterisk. The stars outside the council station flickered like nervous eyes watching from the dark. Across the galaxy, hidden places began to stir, old labs, forgotten vaults, and buried ruins that no one had touched in hundreds of years. And at the center of it all stood one man, one human, speaking in a voice the galaxy had forgotten. In the high chambers of the galactic memory core, the alien leaders gathered again, their faces pale, their voices unsure. What if the human speaks the truth? One asked, "They are just myths," another whispered. "Those beasts, they were never real." But someone pointed to the hologram playing above them. A desert planet, once thought empty now showing life. Something large was moving under the sands, and it matched the same energy signature as the creature in the council hall. And then the reports began. One from a jungle moon, an outpost, destroyed by something with wings and fire. One from a frozen world, a station swallowed by claws that rose from the ice. The beasts had never been extinct. They had only been sleeping. The human walked down a quiet corridor with the creature beside him. It did not growl. It did not roar. It simply walked, like it had walked this path before. The human's hand moved across the wall until it reached a locked door made of deep black metal. He placed his hand on it, and the wall read his skin like it was reading a memory. The door opened. Inside was a small room with a table, a chair, and one broken helmet. The helmet was old, cracked, but it still had the Earth symbol across the front, a circle wrapped in lines, like a net of stars. He picked it up gently, brushing away the dust. "This belonged to Captain Elric," he said to the beast. "She commanded the Ember Child." The creature tilted its head, letting out a soft sound, as if it remembered the name. The Ember Child was one of the first ships that carried Earth's bioweapons, not bombs, but creatures like this one, born in labs and trained in war. During the last galactic war, humanity had been outnumbered. They could not match the aliens in ships or tech, so they made something else. They created creatures that could adapt, survive, and obey only those who carried the Earth code. But when the war ended, Earth grew silent, ships vanished, signals stopped. Some thought humanity was extinct. Others thought they had gone mad and destroyed themselves. But they were wrong. Earth had pulled back, not in weakness but in warning. They had hidden their beasts all across the galaxy and waited for the day someone pushed too far. That day had come. The human placed the helmet on the table, then opened a case beside it. Inside was a small round device, glowing faint blue. It pulsed like a heartbeat. He placed it on the beast's chest, and it sank into the skin with a soft hum. The creature let out a low breath. Its eyes closed for a moment, and when they opened, they glowed brighter. "The memory link is restored," the human whispered. "Now you can remember who you are." Far away, in the central data systems of Earth, an alert appeared. "Sleeper Unit number 07 reconnected, Earthlink active." Other units began lighting up too. Each beast that heard the command word started waking, not wild, not angry, but alert, ready. At the Galactic Council, panic began to spread. Some leaders demanded a vote to declare war on Earth again. Others said they should negotiate quickly before more beasts woke up. But they all agreed on one thing. This wasn't just a threat. It was a message written in silence and blood. The human walked back toward the council hall with the beast at his side. Guards stepped aside without being told. One young alien soldier whispered. "They said Earth was gone." "They were wrong," his partner said. "Earth never left, it just waited." Back in the Grand Hall, the human stepped forward again. This time, the alien leaders did not laugh. They did not shout, they listened. "I am not here to conquer," the human said, "and I did not wake the beasts for war." He paused and looked around the room, his eyes calm. "But I will not allow Earth to be mocked, hunted, or forgotten. You called us animals," he said. "Now face the animals we trained." One alien stood, voice shaking. "What do you want?" The human answered, "Respect, silence." And if we refuse? Another asked. The creature growled once. Not loud, not angry, just enough for the walls to tremble. The human said nothing more. He turned and walked away, outside the station. The stars felt different. Not because they changed, but because now everyone knew something was hiding in the dark between them, and it had teeth. The air inside the Galactic Council was heavy, not with heat, but with fear. Even the strongest warlords who had once boasted about burning Earth colonies were now silent. The creature beside the human no longer looked like a beast. It looked like judgment. The human walked slowly through the main chamber, each step echoing across the golden floor. Behind him, the beast followed without a chain, without force, as if bound by something deeper, loyalty, memory. Kerzul, now sitting quietly in his throne, clenched his fists, his pride shattered. He had brought the human here to humiliate him. Now, the galaxy watched him bow his head in silence. You wanted fear, the human said, turning toward the alien leaders, but not your own. You gave it to others. Weaker races, planets with no armies. You built cages for entertainment, he said, pointing toward the beast, but forgot the cage was never yours. An alien noble stood up, voice shaking. We didn't know it was from Earth. The human looked at him, cold and quiet. And if you had known? The noble couldn't answer. Outside the council chamber, ships began to move. Silent crafts, hidden behind moons and dark shadows, started to send encrypted pulses. They were Earth ships, cloaked, waiting, not for orders, but for permission. The human touched a small device on his wrist. It lit up with a soft blue glow and showed maps of alien sectors. Each map had red dots blinking, hidden weapons once thought lost. Not bombs, not drones, but creatures, Earth's creatures, and each one was now listening. You didn't win the last war, the human said. We stopped fighting so you'd sleep peacefully. He walked forward, his eyes locked with the council leaders. But you mistook our silence for surrender. You thought we were weak because we chose not to answer your insults. But weakness doesn't wake monsters. The creature growled once, short and low, across the galaxy. Small outposts blinked offline. Creatures that had been hidden in cold places were now rising from the dirt and ice. Mining colonies reported strange shadows in the fog. Merchant fleets sent distress signals, saying something was flying alongside them without being seen. Earth hadn't come back for revenge. Earth had come back to remind. One council member stood, older than most, his scales faded by time. He looked tired but honest. We made mistakes, he said, but unleashing these creatures will only bring chaos. The human nodded. That depends on what you do next. If you want peace, they'll sleep again, he said. If you choose war, they'll remind you how it ends. Another leader shouted. This is blackmail. The human smiled, just slightly. No, he said. This is balance. He walked to the center of the chamber, where a great golden symbol of the Galactic Union glowed under the floor. I offer you a choice, the human said. Keep mocking Earth. Keep laughing at our losses, and the creatures you called pets will show you why we built them. Or, he added, treat Earth as an equal again. Not a threat, he said, but a reminder of what peace costs. The alien leaders didn't speak, not because they didn't want to, but because they didn't know what words were safe anymore. One wrong word might wake something else. Far across the stars, in the dark oceans of a water world, another creature opened its eyes. It had been dreaming for centuries, but the call had reached it too. One whisper from Earth, and it remembered its purpose. To defend, to obey, to avenge. Back in the council hall, the human raised his hand. The creature behind him lowered its head again, peaceful, patient, like a sleeping storm. You asked why I don't tremble. The human said, his voice calm, steady, because I am the one who speaks to what you fear. Kerzul lowered his eyes. He knew now, the beast was never his. It had just tolerated him, because it was waiting for the right word, and That word had been spoken. Now the whole galaxy could hear it echoing in the silence between stars. A voice not of war, but of warning, a voice that said, "Remember Earth, and remember what happens when you forget who taught the stars to fear." Asterisk. The stars trembled now, not from fire, but from memory. Across cold planets and shattered moons, echoes of Earth's lost code awakened machines that had not moved for centuries. Old engines groaned to life, long-buried chambers opened slowly beneath alien cities, releasing things that had been sleeping, not dead, not broken, only waiting. In one silent space sector, 3 pirate fleets vanished within minutes. The last signal from their ships was a whisper, one word in Earth's ancient tongue, then static back. In the Galactic Council, alarms blared across the station. Holograms filled the air. Blinking red dots spread across the star signals. Movement, awakenings. A council officer shouted. Sleeper cells are activating across 9 sectors. Another screamed. We're detecting life forms we can't classify. Kerzel stood, face pale. Call the home fleets. No, the elder counselor said, standing slowly. If we attack, we die. The human stood silently in the middle of the chaos. His face was calm. His creature beside him didn't move. It watched the lights like it understood everything without needing words. The human raised his wrist device again. A signal glowed bright and steady. From Earth Live, for the first time in over 100 years. Earth's voice reached the council, and it said only one thing. We're listening. The silence that followed was heavy like iron. The council chamber was no longer a place of power. It was a classroom, and Earth had returned as the teacher. The human looked around the room and spoke slowly, so every leader could hear. Do you know why the creatures are waking now? It's not because I control them. It's because they're afraid. Afraid of what happens if I fall and no one's left to stop what's coming. Kerzel's voice cracked. What's coming? The human turned to the galactic map in the center of the hall. He touched a point near the edge of the known universe. A dark zone where no signals ever returned. Something old, the human said. Older than Earth. Older than your councils. Older than war. We found it once, he said. A long time ago before we disappeared. We sent our strongest weapons there, but not to fight it, to slow it down. The counselors stared at the map, speechless. You thought Earth went silent because we were weak, the human said, but we were busy. We were building cages, he said, not for the galaxy, but for something far worse. And now the cages are breaking, behind him. The creature let out a low sound, not a growl, not a roar. It was sorrow, the sorrow of something that remembers. Death too clearly. One of the younger council members stepped forward, shaking. Then why did you come here? Why warn us now? The human looked at him, eyes hard. Because you've made the galaxy soft. You celebrate cruelty, he said. You laugh at weakness. You turned peace into theater and life into games. When that thing arrives, it won't ask who ruled last year. It'll ask one question, he said, voice low. Who can still fight? And only those with monsters will have an answer. A new signal appeared on the map. A distant red spark blinking faster and faster. The council gasped. That's near the Veil Rift, one shouted. That's where our probes stopped returning. The creature beside the human growled again. Its eyes locked on the blinking spark. It remembered. The human placed a hand on its side gently. Easy, he said. Not yet. More signals appeared. Earth's ancient guardians were waking up. Some had wings of steel and fire. Some had minds like machines and hearts made for war. But they all shared one thing. They remembered Earth's voice, and they would die for it, or kill for it. The council chamber was silent again, but not with fear this time, with realization that the galaxy they knew was never the full truth. That Earth's silence had been a shield, and now it was gone. The human walked to the edge of the hall. You wanted to know why I don't tremble, he said, voice steady. I've seen what's coming, and I've seen what's buried beneath your cities. And I've spoken to the things your ancestors feared, and they all told me the same thing." He paused, then said the words slowly. "They only listened to Earth." The galaxy had never been this quiet, even in times of war, even during great battles. There had been noise engines, weapons, screaming commands, but now, as Earth's ancient monsters woke across the stars, there was only silence and fear. The kind of fear that could not be hidden behind strong words or polished uniforms. In the council chamber, no one dared to speak. The human stood still at the center, the creature beside him no longer looking like a threat, but like a warning. A soft voice broke the silence. It was the elder alien, the one who had lived through the old wars. He said, "What do you want from us, human?" The human didn't answer right away. He walked to the large window at the back of the hall, looking out at the stars, so many stars, so many planets where humans had bled, died, or been forgotten. He finally spoke. "We don't want your apology. We don't want your land, your power, or your ships. We want something far more rare." He turned and looked each alien in the eye. "Respect, not fear," he added. "Respect. We came back not because we were angry. We came back because something worse is coming, and only united can we face it." He paused, then said, "But unity means equality. No more throwing humans in cages. No more calling us soft. No more laughing at the species who warned you." The alien leaders stayed quiet. They knew he was right. They had mocked Earth's silence. Now they prayed it would speak again. Suddenly, a new signal flashed across the sky map. A deep red circle, pulsing at the edge of the veil rift. The human's face changed, more serious, more focused. "It's early," he whispered. "It's breaking through." The council stared in shock. "What is it?" One asked. "We never gave it a name," the human said. "We only called it the hunger. It doesn't conquer," he added. "It consumes. No cities, no prisoners, no peace. It comes like a shadow, and when it leaves, the stars don't shine anymore." Another counselor stood, eyes wide. "We must launch our fleets." "No," the human said firmly. "Your fleets will break like glass. You must wake what you buried. You must speak to your monsters. You must make peace with the things you feared. They are not your weapons," he said. "They are your guardians now." Across the galaxy, ships shaped like nightmares began to rise from secret bunkers. Wings of black metal, eyes of blue fire, mouths that had never spoken but had always listened. They rose not for Earth, but for life. The human opened a small case he had carried the entire time. Inside was a metal key, simple in shape, but ancient in design. "This is the last voice," he said. "It speaks to all of them at once." He pressed the key into a slot on his wrist device. A signal pulsed out across the stars. Soft, silent, but every beast, every creature, every hidden guardian stopped moving and turned toward the same point in the galaxy. The hunger had come. Now the galaxy had only one chance. Earth had not returned to lead the war. It had returned to hold the door. Behind that door were the last soldiers who never wore medals, the last weapons that had hearts, the last guardians who would bleed for the ones who once feared them. In the council, Kerzul finally stood. His voice was quiet, full of shame. "We mocked you. We hurt you. We used your silence as weakness. Will you still stand with us?" The human looked at him, not with hate, but with something deeper. Understanding, he nodded once. "Yes, because if we fall now, none of us will rise again." The council chamber began to change. All screens connected, all fleets linked. For the first time in galactic history, every species spoke with one voice. Led by a human, protected by monsters, guided by Earth's forgotten roar. The stars watched as the fleets formed, as the beasts marched forward, not to destroy, but to protect, to remind the galaxy of something it had forgotten long ago. When you bury something strong, be careful it doesn't grow roots, because when it rises again, it will not ask for permission. It will ask for purpose. And Earth had returned to give that purpose, one word at a time.